Yes, people, and welcome back to a new format, a slightly different name, but the same show. It's your boy Ashmatic, giving you the gossip, the tactics, the news, whatever you want to call it, all about Spurs, man. Big up to everyone in the chats. Big up to you guys at home watching in. I've got a few guests. Marlon is on his way. He's running back. He's running down, a bit like Mickey van der Ven. We've got a guest by the name of AB Coys. How you doing, my broski?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back. It's been a pleasure. I've been waiting to come back. So Ash, thank you very much.
Cool. And also just to bring on another guest, we have Sean, man. Sean from Spurs TV. How you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Alex. Well, good to see everybody. What's cracking, chat?
Yeah, man. So I'm just gonna get it straight out there. Obviously, in the chat, they're already talking about the knockout from South Korea. We've already got Son, he's out. Are you guys sad or are you happy about this situation? Son's out of the South Korea. He's out of the Asia Cup. He got to the semi-final, Son, but he didn't quite make it to the final piece. So how do you think that's going to affect him? And are you happy or are you sad? How are you feeling, man? I'll start with you, AB.
I mean, for me personally, it's only got to be a good thing because Sonny's our captain. He's one of our own. He's been instrumental to any sort of success that we've had so far this season. So as much as I'm a bit, gutted for the fact that it didn't work out for him on the international level, you know what? I think I'm sort of happy to have him back at the club. So yeah.
Cool. And the same question to you, Sean. What do you reckon of Son coming out early? Do you think he needs a sabbatical? He needs some time to kind of get over it because he did get far into the actual cup. It's not like he was knocked out in the group stages. He actually made it to the semi-finals and he missed out on the last hurdle. So do you think that will affect his mental, or do you think he needs a couple of weeks rest, or what are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I'm sad for him. I think it's probably his last crack at the Asia Cup. I'd be surprised if he's still, well, maybe he will be there in 4 years. I don't know, but I'd be surprised. Either way, I'm so shocked that a team as good as South Korea can't get that kind of, I don't know what you call it, the monkey off their back to get that trophy. I'm sad for the guy because I love him to pieces, and I want him to be happy. But look, it's good news for Tottenham ultimately. Although having said that, I'm not really sure at this stage in the tournament how much game time he would have missed additional had he got through to the final. Like, he can't. I'd be so surprised if he starts against Brighton. It's a long journey back. He's played something stupid like 240 minutes of football this week, something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I know he'll want to play, but whether or not he should, I think we've got a good run, an important run in, right? And I think put him on the bench maybe for Saturday for Brighton, but I don't think he should start unless he's absolutely firing fit. And I just worry that he's the sort of person. I genuinely do think he's the sort of player where you need to listen to the advice of people, of medical people, or the coaching staff, because he'll want to play every minute that's available. And ultimately you've got to keep one eye on the long game. We've got a lot of tough games coming up, so I'd rather him be fit and rested. In terms of the mental side of it, I think the best way to get over these things when you fall off the horse is to get straight back on it, right? So I think you need to, in terms of giving him a breather for the mental recuperation, I'm not sure, but I think he's done too much recently.
Yeah, and I tend to agree. I think after coming off the back of his last kind of Asia Cup chance to kind of take his country, because he's a captain. Did you not see that goal that went in? He banged a free kick, bottom corner, and he dragged them through into the semi-final. And so there's a lot of pressure with him being the captain on his shoulders to kind of get that, get them through that final stage. And you forget how much millions of fans watch football in Korea. Well over 14 million, I think, support Spurs alone. So imagine the whole nation on his back, a bit like Beckham. And then all of a sudden, he's pulled out of that environment to come straight back to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think it's going to be a lot of pressure, almost like an emotional roller coaster for him, So I agree with Sean. I think I'm happy to have him back, but I don't think he should start straight away with all that's going on.
My mic better, by the way, just quickly. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it sounds much better now. Yeah.
Cool,
Much better.
Wrong setting.
But yeah, just literally, like, I think in sports, especially in terms of performance, you need that kind of mental attitude that needs to be sharp, and needs to be right. And when you're playing in the game, you don't want your head to be in anger, thinking what I could have done, what I should have done. I'm sure he's going to be talking to a lot of his teammates, you know, to put the arm around him. I'm sure Andrew will have a word with him as well. But I think in terms of starting, he may want to get back on it because he wants to eradicate that straight away and maybe right the wrongs that happened out there in Asia. But in terms of him starting, I do agree. I think he needs to sit on that bench just for a bit, maybe see the game as well. Because sometimes when you sit on the bench and you see it, it's slightly different. And then he has that half team talk with his lads if he needs to. And then he puts that arm back on, and then he shows us what he's about. Because we do have 3 home games, I believe, because the Chelsea game is postponed. So I think he's got more than enough time to kind of, you know, correct those wrongs that he felt he might have made during that Asia Cup. But yeah, guys, I just wanted to quickly get your thoughts on what happened at Everton. Obviously, we drew 2-2. I just want to touch on it real quick. And I'm going to fast forward because I did say I was going to mention it a little bit later and to wait for Marlon to come in. But I just want to know, what do you think, other than obviously the set pieces? You know, everyone spoke about Vicario with, you know, the goalkeeping mistake, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to go over that again. That was clear. We knew what happened against Man City. We knew Sean Dyche was going to pick up on that, blah, blah, blah. But actually in the game, in terms of football, what do you think went wrong? Where do you think the problem lies with Spurs? Because it's not our first game when we haven't quite looked like the same Spurs that we looked at in the first 10 games. I'll go to you, Abs, again first. What are your thoughts on
I want to go forward to go back because I do want to touch briefly on Vicario and the whole goalkeeping stuff, if that's okay. But I'll talk about the football first. So for me, I think the football's been good. Is it the same champagne football we were playing at the beginning of the season? Probably not. But I think with Spurs, what we're suffering with at the moment, which is going to change, is the lack of rotation that we've had in the midfield. So Ange's having to pull players and, you know, move them around in the midfield. And with that being said, you can sort of see it hindering us towards the end of the game because we're having to bring on like Højbjerg, who for me hasn't been that great recently. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been that great. He's sort of weak in the midfield a bit. But with that being said, like I said, when our midfield comes back and we have, you know, our full squad, our full midfield, I think we'll find those little errors that lead to goals or corners that lead to goals will sort of subside a bit. I think it's more of a concentration thing. Like I said, the midfield being pulled about a bit, it's sort of made us a bit unhinged almost, especially towards the end of games.
Cool. What do you reckon, Sean? I mean, it's been going on for quite a while now. People have been upset. Some people have said that, you know, it's the balance. We haven't got all of our players back. You know, some of the defenders were missing. Now Van der Ven's back, Romero's back, Sar's back in the side as well. What do you put down to our current piece of form in terms of, like, you know, the way we play and how we go about games? What do you think seems to be the issue at the moment?
Number of things. Look, I think, if I'm entirely honest, I think the line is 5 yards too high. I know it seems like it's insignificant, but a couple of yards here or there makes a big difference to the balance of like the compression of the midfield and the space it's afforded. I think we're just a little bit too high. Not wholesale 10, 15 yards too high, just 3 or 4 meters too high. And I think that puts a lot of additional pressure in certain circumstances and it overloads the midfield. I also think that Bentancur hasn't figured out Ange ball yet. You know, he's only been, he's obviously missed the first, whatever it was, 15 games, came back for 45 minutes, then Matty Cash happened. And he's only really come in and played a few games. And I don't think he's had a partner that he can rely on the way that Sarr and Bissouma kind of were connecting at the start of the season. I think he's got to figure that out. And I think on top of that, I think he's just not used to the kind of the additional compression of not so much Udogie, but Pedro Porro coming in and inverting. I think he's unfamiliar with it a little bit. And I think that he'll figure it out. He's a very smart midfielder. But you know, the absence of a proper 6, I think is. I was saying it in the summer. I was like, Tottenham need a monster number 6. And look, Bissouma started the season really well in that role, but obviously since Luton, he dropped off his form a little bit, and his discipline was an issue. But I think that Tottenham are probably lacking a proper 6 that can just sit there and play that kind of regista role that also has a bit of bite about them and can calm things down. I don't think Bentancur is naturally that guy. Pape Sarr isn't. Still not convinced Basuma is. I think Basuma is probably a bit more of an 8, but we haven't seen him playing the 8. And obviously, Højbjerg and Skippy aren't, for me, they're not good enough, and they're not fast enough, mobile enough. They don't cover enough ground. So I think we are missing something in that midfield. I think ultimately that's where the kind of frustrations are for me. I don't blame the defense for. I mean, obviously, apart from the set pieces have to be better, and there has to be some learning on the job. Not that we want to get into that stuff, obviously, but in terms of open play, I think the defenders are doing as best they can. But yeah, I think that there needs to be just a little bit of tweaks to the midfield system, because I feel like there's a little bit of overload. I think people are getting in each other's way. Sometimes I see them; they're like within 2 meters of each other. There's like you're occupying the same area. I think there's just something's just not quite clicking. I think it can be resolved with a little bit more time. That I think that the whole team will get better with Ange as they have more familiarity with it. And also, I do think that Tottenham need a proper 6, a specific 6 that knows the role of being that kind of enforcer / also register who can ping balls around. We've got a lot of people that can do one of it, but not the other. And I think there's a gap there in the squad.
So I hear AB saying Højbjerg, we need to upgrade on him, and Sean saying he's not quite sure we have an actual 6 in terms of what Bentancur's doing. It's not quite it. He thinks he will be better in the 8 position, and in terms of Basuma, he thinks Basuma's also an 8. So we don't have an actual 6. So,
or sorry, just quickly, or the other thing we can do is stop inverting both fullbacks, and then use a double pivot. And like if you just keep the doggy on wide or whatever, you don't need to. I think there's too much going on in the midfield and it's overload. I think but I don't expect him to do that. I think he likes the tactic the way it is, and if so, then I'm not sure we've got the right personnel quite for it. We've got a lot of people that do similar things, but no one that does exactly what we need. And I think that's a bit of an issue for the summer we have to resolve. Sorry to.
Yeah, no. Interject at any time, because it's interesting. I look at what De Zerbi does, and he does something quite similar where he gets one of their fullbacks to invert, and then they kind of make a midfield box. So when they're playing out from the back, they've almost got like a double pivot. I've seen Spurs try to adopt that type of style in terms of positional play. If Porro inverts, and I know Sean's seen that, I know you've seen that as well, AB, where sometimes Porro will invert, and if he inverts on that right-hand side, then you'll see maybe a Højbjerg will play as the left other pivot. So that's the double pivot there. And then sometimes if it's your doggy that goes up, then sometimes one of the midfielders drop in the hole like a Maddison, and he becomes the double pivot with Bentancur, and then Romero pushes up, if that makes sense. So it's all sliding doors in my opinion, but we did buy a midfielder, and I wanted to talk about him really quickly. His name is Lucas Bergvall, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on what type of role he could play in our midfield if he does start, because apparently he was brought in for the summer, and he's going to be a part of our first team, if you believe what you read. But yeah, I just want to bring him up anyway. I was going to get your thoughts. So guys, just think about it quickly as I'm showing this video. I'll bring it up real quick. So Lucas Bergvall, here he is. He's played 25 games, and he's actually started 11 of them. 11 games he started. And he's got 2 goals as well. He's got 1 assist. And in Sweden, he's played his first international game in January the 1st. And then he's made his under 21s. He's made 3 appearances for them. Apparently, a lot of the under 18s make a lot of appearances for Sweden. So it's not something uncommon that he would make his first appearance for the senior team, because they do have an international break. But nonetheless, he's got 4 caps altogether between the men's senior team and the Swedish under 21s team as well. He's actually played in the Europa Conference League as well. So he's got 1 cap. He's got experience in Europe, just coming in there. So he's got some experience at that senior level as well. And he's played in a 4-2-3-1. In the 4-2-3-1, he's actually played as a false 9. So you can see him playing up front there in that position for his Swedish team. And then is also deployed in a 4-3-3. And in that 4-3-3, we've seen him play as an 8, and it looks similar to what Papa Matasar plays in a similar role. So that might answer your question for later on. So yeah, here I'm just showing his heat map, and what I picked up from his heat map is that it seems that he's all over the place. He's all over in that attacking third. If I'm being honest, the attacking third, he's quite prominent. In the defensive third, he's prominent as well, but not as much as the attacking third. But to me, that tells me he links the defense and the attack together. So he might be the man that knits it together, someone that can help maybe the number 6 out. So here we have his actual statistics. I was going to go through that real quick. One thing I noticed here was his successful crosses are quite low. His crossing accuracy is quite low as well. I haven't got his dribble accuracy up here, or the amount of dribbles he takes and how many he's
62%. It's it was mad as I was looking into it. It's something crazy. Like it's higher than Maddison, higher than 3 or 4 of the best, higher than Odegaard. If you're looking for a 10 who dribbles, it's got the highest, one of the highest in Europe. It's crazy.
Yes, interesting. So that could be a position he might need to take up, maybe a 10. So some people in the comments are already saying he's an 8/10, and he's been deployed in that position before. But yeah, as I carry on with the video, I'm going to just carry it on. So I'm just going to talk about his heading. So Bergvall primarily operates in that 4-3-3 as an 8. But what I noticed about him, for such a young player, it's quite rare that you see such a technical player so good in the air. And I think a lot of videos I've been watching, but I haven't seen a lot of people pick up on that attribute. In the air, he's got a strong physical, kind of wiry figure, but he's got like a massive leap on him as well, which would suit the Premier League down to a T. I think he's got the actual hunger and the desire to make those win those headers. And that's a very important position, in my opinion. Also, in the box, he's very confident. But another thing I thought about, it shows it here. He does a big kick. Keeper does a kick. And he's able to win those headers in those areas. And I haven't seen that from a Spurs player, especially in midfield. We haven't got a player that wins those balls high up. And I think if a Correa is to go along, then maybe he's that man that can win that ball high up in the area, high up in the pitch, and winning those headers. There he is again, another leap, very colossus, courageous, kind of bold player in the middle of the park, winning those headers back for the team. Even here, bubbles up, but again, he's got a good enough leap to win that header, and generally just be effective in that state of play. Here we're going to show his dribbling. In terms of the dribbling, like you said before, Sean, he's been linked to like a Maddison, or Odegaard. I'll go back as far as a Laudrup. He reminds me of a bit of a Laudrup in terms of how he's able to kind of go on either foot, left foot, right foot, and he's quite good in the close control. I think that's one thing that everyone sees straight away, that his close control is something to be admired. The way he can either beat players as well. I feel like he's got that element of surprise. Here he is on the wing, and he kind of beats players by wrong footing them. So he just gets the ball, kind of shinks his body, and then he's able to get out of that position. A little half turn, goes back on the other side, and then he beats 2 or 3 players. And I think that's a big feature of his game. It's not like he's super fast, but he's got like that turn of pace where he can beat a player, go on the outside, go on the inside, hug that touch line. And as often you see Sarr do this, like you see trying to progress up the pitch. But with him, I think he'll be a good attribute if you've got a player that can kind of get out of those positions and maybe play a bit like like Kobe Mainoo, how he started. Kobe Mainoo is a generational talent, and he's meant to be an 8/10. But they started him as maybe a 6/8. And I think that's what they're going to do with this kid as well. But just going to his goal threat real quickly, he picks up really good positions. This is one thing I noticed. He arrives late into the box, and he kind of ghosts into the box. Here he is picking up the ball high up, gets his head up, and gets a clean strike on the ball. So he's definitely got an eye for goal. Look, here he's positioning in. Good, finishes the ball here. Good strike. Not a good strike there. I think he can work on his finishing, to be fair, in that instance. If he wants to be elite, he needs to practice getting the training ground, really practice on those shots, and really focus on becoming like laser-like with his finishing. But overall, he's got a real hunger to get on those chances, and he knows how to ghost into the box, which I really like. In terms of possession, I like it. I said it before. I think he receives the ball in a half turn, and he lacks those like off the wall passes, which kind of keeps that midfield ticking. Sometimes when you need to keep that midfield ticking, make the ball move fast, you need a little bounce pass, little 1-2s, and he finds little passes to kind of beat the team's press. But he doesn't do it in the final third, because when I looked at his stats weren't really high for his final third passing. He kind of passes from deep. So that kind of suggests to me that he could be a regista, because he can affect play from deep, gets the ball here, takes the pressure off, does a little pirouette, drops the shoulder, links the play, asks for it again, and he knows what space to pick up. He knows what pocket to pick up. Here he is spreading the play, trying to do like a little lofted ball there, picks the ball on the outside and finds play. It's very composed as well. Once the ball, he's got the hunger, got this desire, and he just finds that shape, little triangles again, trying to link the play. And that's something I would kind of look towards a little regista. Defending, he reminds me of an old school fashion, English Premier League defender, likes to slide tackle, goes to ground, but also he picks up good pockets. He knows where to scan, he knows where to be on the pitch, and that's how he's able to intercept balls at times and able to make good challenges without making a foul. Here we go. His actual long balls as well as passing. I said before, he's got good pass on him, good passing range, and he's able to split teams at will. Whenever he wants, he can just find that pass, that killer pass. Here he is picking up the ball. Long passes as well. I think he's got a good long pass on him, and that also shows his vision. So not only football IQ, but a good ball over the top, and something that can switch our play up a little bit. Sometimes we need a little play where we can go over the top, get in behind, find like our wingers, our forward players, and he does little dinks over the top into box. I said it before, when I'm looking at his crossing, I think that's something he could work on. When he needs to know when to do kind of like a lofted ball, and he needs to know when to do like those crosses when you get underneath it. And I think that's the reason why his crosses aren't as high as they should be in those metrics. But just comparing it to his dribbling, I know his dribbling is really elite. I'm just looking at things that he needs to work on as a player. So yeah, in my opinion, I would start him as maybe a regista, and then maybe move him to an 8 or 10, maybe further on to his career. I wouldn't want to bleed him in. I want to bleed him in that aspect where I take my time, a bit like Luka Modric. When Luka Modric came in, we played him in different positions so he could learn the game. Do you know what I mean? And then I feel like if he's playing that kind of role what Sar's doing and like comes on for Sar, then we don't drop our level as much as compared to like when you bring a Skip on. Some people feel that we might lose a bit of, swagger on the ball, a bit of competence on the ball. We might lose possession. But that's my opinion on Bergvall, from what I've read about him, from what I've seen.
I will have no Oliver Skip slander. I'm a big fan.
You're a big fan.
I got to jump. Sorry, Ash, it's been short but sweet, mate. I've got this other thing at 10 o'clock. I've got to be on, buddy.
No problem.
No
love you,
worries.
man. Nice to meet you, Alex. See you soon, guys. Good video, by the way, Ash. Well done, mate. Nice one.
I'm gonna bring on the guy Marlon. Yes, you're in the background watching. Big up, man.
Of course. You all right?
Yeah,
I'm all good. So you saw it. What are your thoughts, man?
What, Lucas? It's future, innit? Future signing looks good, but it's one of them. It's always the case when these young guys come in. How many minutes will they actually feature?
This is what I said in the background.
Yeah. It's always the worry, isn't it? It's always the worry when you bring in all these young 17-year-olds, and especially with Spurs, like we're all about the now, and that's the problem. We don't bleed these players in. We've had so many. So is he going to be another one? And that's my biggest worry when it comes to Spurs, right? We've signed all these young players, and it's just kind of a case of, all right, let's see what happens. Because we've also got that young Croatian kid coming in as well, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. We do.
So yeah, it's one of them. I don't know. I'll take it. Like, I'm not going to say no, am I? But yeah.
What do you think? What does it mean for like the players of like the Vine? Because some people are saying he's going to be an 8/10. So do you think the Vine? Where does the Vine fit in all of that position as well?
This is your issue, isn't it, going forward? Yeah, and you got so many young players, but then the problem you've got is, and which was concerning, was Ange the other day saying that our academy, well, we're so behind on our academy that he obviously doesn't rate it. So we might be looking at the Vines and all them, but he's looking at them going, they're not good enough. Like the Donnellys and stuff is good enough to be on my bench. But yeah, proper worrying. So that's why these players, that's why we probably are buying these young players to come in, because they're better than what's at the academy right now. So hopefully, you know, Ange's a big advocate of bringing through young players. He is. Yeah. It's one thing we haven't seen at Spurs. Yeah. Right now, we haven't seen it. For him to say that about the academy, and then we've got 2 young players bought, you kind of go in, that's where we're going with this. He's going to buy the younger players instead of using what's in the academy, because the academy's going to take years to get up to scratch. Yeah. If they're not ready now, you're talking years. Like, it's not going to be overnight unless we start. Unless we, like, you know, you have to do what Chelsea and Man City do: go and buy all the players and then build the academy up. So it's going to be really difficult.
AB Coys, would you Talking Bears put this comment up? Speaking of Modric, he's available in the summer.
Yeah.
Would you like to supplement the old with the new, or would you think this kid, start him straight away, bring him in, like, let's see what?
No, I mean, for me, not at all. I mean, he's going to be a project, just a little bit like our academy. He's going to have to work alongside pros that we've already got to establish how we play, the culture of the club, what he wants for himself moving forward as well as a young player. So no, I don't really see him as someone that we should just, you know, say, we've bought, so, you know, we're gonna bring him on, we're gonna play him. I do think he'll be ready in the future, but I think we've got players in that position currently that would be a lot more effective. But I'm not saying that by any means that, you know, he's not ready or he's not good enough. I just think it needs to be something that we need to nurture. So
going back to the midfield problem, Marlon, and I say it's a problem. Who's your midfield moving forward? Now we've got the likes of Skip. Obviously, I assume Skip's not going to be in the starting lineup. Højbjerg is probably low down on your list, I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Skip, Højbjerg, maybe not. But moving forward, do you look at partnering Bentancur with Assar and Maddison, or do you think Bentancur's lost it slightly and Bissouma needs to come straight in, and then you play him with Assar and a Maddison? Or how do you see this midfield shaping up going forward?
So, you know, it's weird. I had the conversation earlier today with an Arsenal fan, and we're talking about, I said, our midfield at the moment, since Maddison's come back as well, it's kind of all, it's not cohesive as it has been. And I said, there's 2 sets of midfields that we've got, right? Biss, Sarr, Maddison.
Yeah.
If one of them's taken out, you can't play the other 2. Well, you can play Maddison to a certain extent, but I'm going to explain my reason behind why I'd say you got to take Maddison out. Because Bentancur's not had good games since Maddison's been back, right? So the 3 that if you're going to pick one, Bentancur, Lo Celso or Skip, and Kulu have to be the 3. Because the way they all play, right? And this is, you have to go watch. You know, you have to go watch Aston Villa, right? The Aston Villa game where Bentancur and Lo Celso are in the middle, and Kulu was the number 10, and how quick they played together.
Yeah.
Right. And you also have to go watch parts. Like, I know Bentancur weren't against Man City, but Lo Celso and Kulu were, and you can see that they've got. I know Lo Celso is completely out of it because he's injured.
Yeah.
But when it has a cohesion as a 3, it's really weird because Bentancur and Maddison are not on the same page at the moment. At the present moment, I'm not saying it won't get any better, but that's how I see it. It's got to be, if you're going to play Bissouma, you have to play Sarr and Maddison.
Yes.
If you're going to play Bentancur, you have to play him. You can't play him with those 3. You just can't do it. And I don't know what it is. I just feel like as a unit, as a 3, they're stronger together. And they're like we saw Biss, Maddison and Sarr at the beginning. You saw how good they were, and you saw what happened when Maddison got taken out, then when Sarr got taken out, when Biss got taken out. They kind of weren't the same.
Yeah.
But as soon as Bentancur got back in the team, he was better off with Kulu as a 10, Højbjerg, Skip, and Lo Celso. I think he was better with Lo Celso, don't get me wrong, but he can also play. He can play with Højbjerg and he can play with Skip. But it has to be Kulu as a 10. And I don't know what it is. And I'm hoping that over time, in the next few weeks, right, Bentancur and Maddison, hopefully they're working together in training, because those 2 are so key into what we're going to try to do as a midfield.
So name your midfield three for me again.
So as a three, Biss, Sarr, and Maddison.
Yeah.
If one of them is taken out,
Mm.
yeah, then it's Bentancur. Lo Celso if he's fit, but I'll take Skip or Højbjerg. It doesn't matter which one. And Kulu is the 10.
I get what you're saying. If one of them's injured or for whatever reason, then the midfield, because that's what I was like.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And okay, same question to you, AB. What is your? And also, I've seen the people in the comments. They've said, you know, their opinion. Everyone, put your opinions down. Who is your midfield three? I want to know. But yeah, AB, what's your midfield?
It's got to be the exact same as Marlon. It's got to be Biss, Sarr, and Madders. Again, if there's like a problem or an injury, I'll probably play Biss, Bentancur, and Madders. I think balance-wise, the first three, so Biss, Sarr, and Madders, we saw what they did at the beginning of the season, and it was brilliant. And I think the reason for that is because I was a big fan of what Sarr was doing, covering that gap behind Pedro Porro, because we played an inverted fullback. There's always space. If you watch our last two games, Brentford and more so Everton, balls going over. The team has to get back really quickly. It was even somewhat to the point of what Sean was saying, where playing a bit too high up, and you can see that because when that ball's going over to the right hand side, where we find ourselves in real problems, I think Sarr covers that ground really well. So even when we are playing the inverted fullback, being obviously Porro on the right side, he covers that ground, and this is why I really like that three. For me, like I said, if it doesn't go that way, then I think Bentancur then steps in. But we can agree he hasn't played that well since he's come back. But I do think a lot of that is fitness. I don't even think Madders is back to himself yet. He hasn't played badly, but he's not back to himself yet. He's still getting there. So, you know, we just need to give it a bit of time, but the midfield will come back. But yeah, that's my three anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think I tend to agree with everyone else in terms of that was the team that got us first. Yeah. So naturally, you would want to see that team. But I did hear Anne say he had plans for Bentancur and Bissouma by the sounds of it. So it would have been interesting to see what that would have looked like. I still feel like in terms of positional play, I agree with you guys. I feel like they're still learning it. Like they haven't fully grasped the kind of positional play. Because a lot of people, Sean saying, you know, he doesn't think Bissouma is a 6. We need like a monster 6 to kind of clean things up. I didn't get to disagree with him whilst he was here, but I disagree with him. I think Bissouma is a 6, in my opinion. But I think it's slightly different in players. Like traditionally, you think of a defensive midfielder just staying there and not going anywhere else. When Bissouma played against Manchester United, look how high up he got on the pitch. Look what he was doing. And I just think that interchangeable midfield, that fluidity at times, when certain times we saw it against, I think it was Burnley, where Maddison picks the ball up from deep, or certain times Maddison's playing as a fullback and he's threading balls. I think sometimes midfield players, we're not fixed to one position. Yeah. So if the doggy's high up the pitch, then you might see one of our wingers drop in as a wide midfielder or an 8. Do you see what I'm trying to say? No one has a fixed position. And that's why you're seeing your doggy so high up the pitch. And now I know Sean was saying, you know, Porro might get in Bentancur's way, or, you know, Bentancur might get in, I don't know, Kulu's way, or vice versa, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I'm saying they're still kind of learning that system where they were so used to being rigid and stuck in one position. I think over time, they're going to understand, all right, if I'm in this lane, you're meant to be in that space. Literally attack the space, defend the space. When he loses the ball, you need to be here. You need to be back here, etc., etc. So in my opinion, I think there is space for Bissouma. I think that cover of Sarr needs to be addressed. However, I do feel Bentancur can play that 8 role, and he will figure it out sooner rather than later. But I wanted to move to the top 3, you know. I want to move to the Richarlison, Johnson, and Werner talking point, because me and Marlon, we spoke about it many a times, and it's a hot topic, so I have to bring it up, and I want to get your thoughts on first, AB, just about the whole Johnson situation. Do you think he will come good, or do you think it's someone that we need to replace? And what are your thoughts on Brennan Johnson?
Brennan Baby Boy Johnson, that's what I call him. I think he's actually really improved. I think he's someone that we need to keep playing. I think if we actually bring him out of the squad to, like say like Son's coming back, we sort of bring him out of the squad, I think that could really affect his confidence. And moving forward, he might not be the player that we know he can be. I think he's actually been better. Has he been at the level that we need him to be? Probably not. But he's growing with the team. And to see him score the other day, I was really happy for him. He got in the right position. Granted, it was a tap-in, but he still had to get there. And I just think that as the games go on, he's getting, for me personally, he's getting slightly better. He's not getting massively better, but he's getting slightly better. We're seeing better performances from him. We do need a bit more, but like I said, I think we should keep him in the squad. I think we should keep playing him. As for Richarlison, I think he's been brilliant. I think he's got, 8 and 8. I think his confidence really lacked prior to this as to why his goal ratio was so low. But I think he's been brilliant. And I've actually been quietly impressed with Werner. I was very sceptical when I heard they were signing him. Wasn't a big fan of him. But I think he's hit the ground running. And I think he's brought us exactly what we've needed in this period. So I think the front three have been actually really good. As for baby boy Brennan Johnson, keep playing him, man. I'm not saying he has to start, but don't dislodge him from the team. I wouldn't do that.
Cool, and the same to you, Marlon, man. Obviously, we spoke about it, but I'm going to pivot onto the debate because we're having this massive debate in the group, and literally we've been linked with Raphinha, and then on the same breath we were linked with Neto. But just before we get to that debate, what are your thoughts moving forward with Brennan Johnson? If we actually do sign someone in the summer, is that admitting to the club that we've actually got it wrong? And that's the reason why we're looking for another wing player? Or is it a case of Ange wanted another winger regardless, and he thinks Brennan's going to need more time to kind of, breathe in or whatever? What are your thoughts on it?
I think he wants a winger regardless. I think he's looking at Son's replacement. Long term, that's what he's looking at. Son is not getting any younger. He's obviously, I know he's club captain, but we don't know how long he's got left, right? And you don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years with Son. So we are still on the lookout for probably another striker and another winger, right? I don't know. Look, with Brennan Johnson, it's one of those. Will he become the player that Ange wants him to be? I don't know. I can't. Look, he's all right. He's not. I think because we paid 50 million, everyone's putting this pressure on him. But let's be honest, Brentford were going to pay 30. Have that accepted, and would have probably still been. Is he a 30 million pound player? Don't know. It's all up in the air. But Ange has got to get the best out of him. There'll be many mistakes that Ange makes with these signings as well. But I don't think it's a mistake as of yet, because as Richarlison's all taught us, don't judge very quickly.
Yeah, it's true.
Right. We gave Richarlison the benefit of the doubt as a 9 who scored, what was it, 1 goal last season, 2 goals. So we can't put a younger player who plays on the wing and say off of current form that it's a flop or XYZ. Give the young boy some time. I think he's going to come good. I think he's actually going to be a player that in the future we say, you know what, we actually did the right thing by signing him. And I was saying in the Spurs, in our Spurs group that we're in the other day, I just had a random thought and I put it to the group and I said, you know what, I can actually see him playing down the middle later on down in his career. So as a 9, I think he'll make that transition from the wing to a striker. That's what I believe. You
heard it here first, man. AB Coys says Brennan Johnson for the number 9 role. But yeah, just pivoting onto that question, I'll stay with you, AB, as well. What do you make of the whole Raphinha, Neto? Which player would you rather have in your side? If we had like one position, who are you going for?
Probably Neto. The reason I say that is because I think he's a younger player. I think he's got more potential to grow. I think Raphinha, even what we saw of him in the Premier League at Leeds, he wasn't that impressive. He was good for Leeds, but he didn't for me, he didn't sort of spark the Premier League when he was at Leeds. So why is he going to come back to Spurs now and do the same thing? So probably Neto for me. I'll take Neto personally.
And the same for you, Marlon. And people in the comments as well. What are your thoughts on this situation? Should we go for Neto, as AB was saying, younger, higher ceiling, player that's really doing it right now, or would you go for a Raphinha of Leeds, former of Leeds and Barcelona?
So Neto's got Jota vibes, as in he's starting to pick it up for Wolves at the right time. Like, you got to think, right? He was out for what, 2 months, or maybe longer, and only recently someone took over his assists this season. I think Salah and I can't remember who else only just overtook him. So, but the biggest issue you're going to have with Neto is injuries. Right? It's a massive issue. And I think what the problem that we have is with buying Neto is we've got Maddison with injuries too. And it's not like the stats are not there to tell us. With both, like with Maddison, they were there and for lengthy periods of time. That's what he does, right? Neto looks like he's exactly the same. The problem that I have then with Raphinha is he spent too long under a Bielsa system.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is the injuries are now starting to creep in. It happens with Klopp players. It happens with Pochettino players. When we saw what happened to Vertonghen and Alderweireld and all them when they got Mourinho. Their legs started to go because of all the football and even Dele Alli to a certain extent. All their legs started to go because of what happened under Poch. Klopp, it happens with Klopp as well, right? Certain players can't last as long, right? Salah, you get your Salahs of this world. You do get one or two that will last long, but look at Harry Kane. Harry Kane's legs were gone, but he was so good at other things that he, it helped him. So my problem is always going to be with the both of them is going to be injuries.
Injury too.
Right, and they're both showing it at the moment. Right, and let's be honest, we're not the best club to come to if you're relying on a player to go from who's had an injury spell to not have it. You've seen it with Lamela, you've seen it with Lo Celso, right? Players didn't really get injured before, and they come to Spurs and they're injured already. Maddison's come here, still the same thing. He's still getting injured, so we kind of have to look at it and go, be careful with both of them. I think personally, right? Because if you buy both of them, you're gonna need a backup. And does that mean Werner stays?
It's food for thought, man. I'm going to show this on stream because I wanted to kind of debate out a little bit more. Don't know if you lot can see that. I can definitely see it. See if I can make it a little bit larger. But can you see me moving up and down or no? All right. So on my screen, I've got minutes. And it says Pedro Neto and Raphinha for this season. So it's 2023-2024 season, right? And I've got them both highlighted. So Pedro Neto has got almost double the amount of minutes that Raphinha has. So I'm just taking that into consideration. I'm not taking it season by season. I'm just looking at this season in isolation. In terms of goals and assists, Pedro Neto has got 2 goals. And he's got 8 assists. That's 10 goal contributions, 3 goals and 5 assists for Raphinha, which is 8 goals. So 2 goal contributions better than Raphinha Neto has. Now I'm going to go into shooting. In terms of shooting, shots, Raphinha, let's do shots per 90 actually. Shots per 90, you can see there 4.43. So he's leading them. Almost double what Neto takes in terms of shots. Shots on target, again, almost double. In fact, more than double from what actual Pedro Neto does. So that's shots per 90. And the reason why I'm doing shots per 90 is because, as I said before, Neto has played double of what Raphinha has actually played. I'm going to go into the goals and shot creation actions real quickly as well. So goals and shot creation actions per 90. Raphinha outbeats him again. What got a goal shot creation action actually is either shooting from him doing something and then a goal coming off it. A shot creation action per 90 again. Raphinha's top. He's better than Sane. He's better than Bremo, who I really like. And he beats Neto again in that action as well. And the last bit I'm going to go to is possession. Possession, in terms of actual successful dribbles, can't actually see it. This is in the way. In terms of successful dribbles, Raphinha ranks higher than him. So, and the reason why I did it as a percentage, because again, Neto has played more game time than actual Raphinha has. Now, the reason why Raphinha is played less game time, the reason being is that Raphinha has been battling his game time or sharing his game time with that generational talent. I forget his name. His name Lamine. I forget his name.
Yeah.
A young kid. Say it in the comments. Let me know who it is. But it's a 17, 18-year-old, and he's like a wonder kid. And he played against us, and I thought he was amazing. He actually did us in when we played against him in the friendly. He's been sharing his minutes, but obviously Neto has been injured quite a lot for a large period of that time, and so that's the reason why he hasn't gotten as many minutes as he should have. But looking at both of them, that's why I had the argument like Raphinha, because people were turning up their noses at Raphinha. I just didn't understand. I said, look, if you want someone that can ball carry, I get it. If you want someone that can be like a dribble or 1v1 demon, Neto's your guy. Shot creation actions, or like after every dribble he does, he creates an action. He creates a goal scoring opportunity. So Neto can in the front three positions. And I'm not, listen, I would love Neto to come. So I'm not like saying, yeah, I want Raphinha over Neto. No. I'll take either of them. But I just didn't understand why like people were like, oh, no way, Raphinha. No, because I saw what he did at Leeds. At Leeds, he banged 15 goals in the Leeds team. So I'm comparing Leeds to Wolves. Obviously, they're both like one's more like defensive minded than the other. But in terms of like counter-attacking, Leeds are counter-attacking, so are Wolves. So they're not like teams that possess. They're like, possession-based teams where they're going to have a lot of the ball, etc., etc. So I'm looking at him in his Premier League stint. He did it. Obviously, when he went to Barcelona, Barcelona, all of them were dog shit. I'm going to lie. They had a poor season last season. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was up and down. So, but even then, last season, he still outperformed Neto. So it's like, but as I said, I wouldn't be mad at having either of them. I was just looking at the numbers a little bit closer, and I just wanted to get people's views on it. Go on, AB. Sorry, I was cutting you off.
So I got a question for you both, actually. I was going to aim it at you, but Marlon, I want you to answer as well. Where were you playing Raphinha in our team?
Oh, that's a fucking great question.
Right wing,
yeah. Right wing.
Marlon,
where were you playing him?
Left.
Okay, cool.
And the reason why I'm playing him left is because I know Ange likes a left footer on the left side. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Raphinha's very left-footed, if I can remember him correctly, because I ain't seen him at Barcelona. I'll be honest. I remember him at Leeds, and I kind of wanted him, but I was kind of like up in the air with him. But I would try him on the left and see how effective he could be actually going out wide and things. So I'd play him on, because I know why you're asking the question, because it involves the whole Brennan Johnson argument.
Controversial. And as I say this, I'm not saying that I start him over this player. This is not what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'll play him as a 10.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah.
I would. I really would.
If I don't know
in our system and how we play, I play him as the 10.
Like how Kulu's playing in the 10 at the moment.
Yes, exactly. But again, I'm not saying that he plays over Madders. No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what happens to Kulu though? What do you do with Kulu in this situation? Because you're bringing in Raphinha. Why I'm asking the question, because you're bringing in Raphinha, who pretty much plays the exact same position as Kulu. Yeah. So would you sell Kulu? Do you keep Kulu? What do you do in that situation?
I've been in absolute turmoil with Kulu. Anyone who's in our group will know that I'm always onto him a little bit. And the reason why I say that is because I know his ceiling is so high, but he just doesn't bring enough for me out on the right. And the reason I say that is because he's his dominant foot is his left foot, and his game is starting to get very predictable. He gets the ball, he brings it back. He gets the ball, he brings it back. He rarely wants to get a cross off on his right foot or try and shoot with his right foot. So every time we have a break, he slows it down. For me, I probably prefer him more in this current moment as the 10. I don't even want him out on the right. Maybe we should start playing him out on his more natural side, on his left, because we might get more end product from him. I don't like him out on the right. So yeah.
So, do you know what? Before you carry on, Ash, chat. I want to ask people in the chat with Kulu, would you upgrade him this summer? And would you upgrade him? Right, without everything you know, he could play number 10, he can play on the right, he can play on, or think he can play on the left. Ange hasn't put him there. But would you upgrade him? Because it's quite interesting. He's one of them Marmite players. I feel like some people love him and still remember what he can bring. And even parts of this season, like against Forest, when he puts that crossing pinpoint on Richarlison's head, that's the stuff that he can do. But then you get the last couple of games where he's been ineffective. Even though when he came on against Brentford, to be fair to him, he was effective enough to pull us back through what we needed to do, because he put Maddison and obviously Kulu as the front two and left Højbjerg as the DM. So it's a weird one.
Yeah, it is. I personally wouldn't sell him. I know it's a hard take.
But Ange dropped him for the first time against Everton.
Yeah.
Right? Did it work? You'd probably say yes. If you're looking at the reflection of the game, it did work. But then he did come on, he came on the left, and then he gave away the free kick. And everyone said his performance was not up to standard when he came on, which, considering he was probably one of the players that needed a rest, you know, could he have prevented the free kick? I don't know. It's just one of them. Kulusevski's all over the place with everybody at the moment, because one game he'll be brilliant, and then the next game he'll go missing.
Yeah,
he's so inconsistent.
It's mad, isn't it? Like,
and to be honest, right, just to carry on, when he came from Juve, a lot of Juve fans said this, and even do you remember the guy he tweeted as well? And he said that Kulu's very, very inconsistent, right? Because he said Bentancur he always played it backwards, but he said Kulu was inconsistent. And actually, when you look at his career at Spurs with Kulu, you'd probably say the guy was right.
Yes.
If you look at it, one game he's good, next game he's missing, and then it's just one of those. But when he's on fire,
he's on fire.
But then you'll get games like I'm going to take what's the game before Everton, Manchester City. Yeah, Brentford kind of he was all right. He was all right, but he was ineffective, and then he was all right. But you take Man City, ineffective, but you take the Etihad performance, he was brilliant.
This is it.
So it's one of them. I like Kulu. I personally do like Kulu. I do get frustrated with him.
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. I wouldn't, because he's just signed a contract. We just signed him, so it'll be mad to get rid of him. He's just signed. I don't think it makes business sense. He's young. He's 23, sorry. But, you know, I do agree, man. He's inconsistent, and at this level, we need players to perform at their highest level. My problem with Kulusevski at the moment is that he's really good at dribbling, but sometimes you're taking too many touches. Release the ball, man. Just release it, because certain men are ahead of you, and if you release it at the right time, and then certain times he's got ability to shoot on his weaker foot, but he always wants it on his left. And sometimes when he does that, then the shot's not on, then they block it, or he loses. They get that challenging. So he's a player that really frustrates you. And I'm hoping they're having words with him and they're going through and they're coaching that kind of side out of him. Like, on your weaker foot, I want you to shoot. Just shoot on your weaker foot. Shoot on your weaker foot. Do what Son does. Do what Kane did. Just practice, get in that kind of training ground and literally work on those on your weaker foot shots, because sometimes it's not always going to land on your favorite foot. And vice versa. When you're dribbling on the ball, a few touches and then look for your teammate, because the more time, I feel like Werner's in and Johnson's in. They're both super high up the pitch, but you just need to let it go early enough, and then maybe they'll have more 1v1s on goal. And that's the way I see it. But I mean, we could come back to this point, but I wanted to kind of look at the next few games, because I know we've got 3 home games coming up. So in the 3 home games, we've got Brighton at home.
Yeah.
Which is going to be an interesting game, because
tough game.
Yeah, it's the Zerbi again. The Zerbi, it was a tricky opponent, I thought, last time, and it's going to be the same again. We've also got Wolves actually playing Wolverhampton as well. That's going to be at home. And then straight after the Wolverhampton game, we play Crystal Palace. But just before we get to Crystal Palace, I just thought Gary O'Neill, the way he set that Wolves team up, they caused us a lot of problems by pressing us relentlessly in that midfield. And that's when we had Sarr as the number 10, and we had Højbjerg in the midfield, and Eric Dyer at the time was in the defense as well. And we just kind of didn't look like we were at the races at the time. But yeah, let's talk about Brighton first, because Brighton is coming up, and I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the whole Brighton situation, the Derby. What kind of problems you think we'll face playing them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium?
I think with Brighton, De Zerbi, I think he sets up tactically really well. He always usually creates an overload by playing. How do I put this? He plays like a 3, and then he encourages his 8 to bomb forward. So it's like he's always got like a spare runner. And I think think that if he was to, and which I know clubs do, analyze how we set up, that could be a problem with us because of our inverted fullbacks, because he's going to have space and he's going to have extra players playing off of that. So I think we need to sort of be mindful of our squad selection for Brighton. We need to make sure that we've got the right midfielders that are going to come.
So who would you start in that case then? If you said you know what De Zerbi's going to bring, and you know he plays with the third man, and you know that they like to run in behind, and let's go from out to in, and their strikers kind of turn into 10s at times, and they kind of overload that central area. That's what you're talking about. That's how they kind of, because let's face it, when we played them, it's like as much as the ball we had, or as many chances we had, they had just as many. They hit the post twice, we hit the post twice. We hit the ball in the back of the net twice, offside, so did they. But in fact, they actually had more big chances. Big chances fell to them more. So even though they didn't have as much possession as us, they actually created a lot more big chances than us. So what team do you select for that?
Is this in an ideal world, or are we talking about with current, like who we've got currently?
This Saturday, so I mean, it's worth talking about.
Oh, Marlon, I want you to answer that first. I'm stuck.
Woo! Got him. Got him.
I mean, there's a few that I can name, but I just don't know. It's difficult.
Name them. We'll go for it. Name what's in your mind, and then we can kind of go backwards and we can counter your.
So I'm gonna go with Bentancur, Skip, Madders. You're probably thinking, crazy guy, why have you mentioned Skip? I just think that for this game, I'm a fan of Skip as well. I'm going to put my hands up.
You already said, so that's why I know he's in there.
I've even got my own chant for him, but yeah, no, I'm a big Skip fan. I think for what he does, he's good. I know that for everyone else, he's not pleasing on the eye. He's maybe not the best ball player, but again, why I've chosen him for this setup is because, again, I think he's going to be the player that's going to get across. I think he's going to work hard. I think he's going to be able to cover Porro in that sense of sort of similar to what Sarr does, but just not as effective. And this is why I said it's difficult, because in an ideal world, I'll just say Sarr, Biss, Madders. But yeah, I'll probably go with Bentancur, Sarr, Madders.
But you said Skip first. The reason why you said Skip, is it because it's not match fitness, because obviously he's back. He played in the last game. I know he came on. Yeah. But what was your thinking behind it? I know you said it briefly.
Behind Skip.
Yeah, behind
just really his combative nature. Because have you noticed that whenever he comes on, he will get a tackle in, he will play it, he will play it, he will also get up and down the field as well. So I think it's just more for that cover. Because like I said, Brighton have that overload. I don't know any other player currently that would do the legwork that he's going to do. Basically, is what I'm saying.
So you're more focusing on what they're doing as a threat, because, like you said, that third man pass from central areas, sometimes they'll thread a ball. And I saw it against Brighton. They were Milner got in. Like Milner was having shots.
Yeah.
The reason, like, we weren't able to deal with that midfield. We tried to press them. but they are really good at combination play. And then all of a sudden, it looks like they're on a counter attack, and then they've got the ball in that kind of channel in that pocket, and before you know it, they're having a shot, and we're like, what is our defense doing? How are they doing that? Caveat that though, and I'll go to you, Marlon. You know, against Brighton, and I've got a feeling I know what you're going to say. We did have Ben Davies, and we had Emerson Royal, the fullbacks, centre backs. Now we're going to have Mickey van der Ven, and we're going to have Christian Romero. Do you think that will have an impact on the way we play Brighton, especially being at home?
No, of course. To be honest, I think as a midfield, I think it will be Sarr, Madders, and I'm between Højbjerg and Bentancur. But look, I believe Basuma's still got, is it malaria?
Malaria, yeah.
So I don't believe he's going to be 100. Look, they'll check him when he gets back, but I don't think he's going to be 100% fit because he hasn't really been fit in the African nations. So I don't think he's going to play. I personally don't think he's going to play this weekend. He might, but until I hear any different rumours, I'm gonna keep him at the team for now. So it's between Bentancur and Højbjerg for me, who he's going to play in there. I know what, after seeing what Andrew's been doing, Sarr's got to play. Sarr will definitely play. There's no question about that, and so will Madders. But for me, Bentancur, the last couple of games, and I've just answered Mia's question. I'm going to answer Mia's question here. The last couple of games, Bentancur's not been at it, and I actually AB actually brought up something earlier, which I've been saying. He's been missing, remember he's come back from a big injury. I think he's starting to catch up with him a little bit, right?
Can see it.
And you can see it. So I think if we can see it, I'm hoping Andrew will see it, right? So, and I think at the moment, Andrew relies on Højbjerg to come into these situations. I don't want him to, but whenever he gets the chance, he will put Højbjerg in. So I've got a feeling he will start with Højbjerg, but Højbjerg won't finish the game. So
I always feel like Højbjerg plays better when he comes on.
He does, but because he played against Everton, it worries me now.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It worries me because I would personally, because Skip, it's really weird because JJ said this after the match reaction. He said when you've got Skip and Højbjerg, Skip should start, Højbjerg should come on to replace him. Yeah. And that's how it should work with those two. Right, give Skip the 60 minutes. Once he starts to tire out, especially in the Andrew system, which he does quite quickly, bring on Højbjerg to do it when you ain't got the rest, and you can kind of see how that works. But because he played Højbjerg from the beginning against Everton, it's my worry now because Højbjerg has stayed and he said he's committed to the calls and everything. That's what Andrew wants to see. Andrew loves all that, so I've just got a feeling he's going to rely on Højbjerg in these situations where Bentancur needs the rest, where Skip. He probably does. I don't think Andrew rates Skip as much, and I don't think he'll play Skip and Sarr together. Right, so that's why I think he might go with Højbjerg, unfortunately.
So
it's not unfortunate because at home, I think Højbjerg can do the job, and we have to look at Brighton. The last 30 minutes, right? I know they were good for the first, but again, we didn't have our defense. We weren't our real team, and De Zerbi did a number on us, right? Because he'd seen how they played and everything like that. But now we've got our team. You saw if we can create those 7 minutes we did against Brentford, we'll do the same thing to Brighton. Wolves is more my worry, if I'm being honest.
Yes, yeah.
Out of the two, because Gary O'Neill will tactically set up to defend and play deep, I think, against us because he knows what we're like, and then try and counter us, right? Yeah. But where I don't think De Zerbi's not going to do that. De Zerbi's going to come out and go all guns blazing. And to be fair, Brighton are worse away from home than they are at home. You can see it. You can see it with some of their inconsistent results, right? They'll go back to Crystal Palace at home, but they'll go and lose the next away game, and it could be against Bournemouth, who you'd be expecting them to turn over. So that's been the problem with Palace this year. Not Palace, I mean Brighton. Yeah. I shouldn't say that. I might get in trouble there.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think that with Brighton, they've been suffering with injuries all season long, and I think it shows in terms of immaturity, in terms of the squad selection. They've got quite a young squad. And I think when you field a bunch of young players and there's so many young faces in their team, when the crowd kind of gets up on them and, the game's not quite going their way, then they kind of find it hard to kind of turn things around. We've seen that they've gone a goal down. The Zerbi normally is quite good in the second halves. Like if you ever see when Brighton tend to score, it's normally around the 65th to 70th minute. And that's because the Zerbi is so good with his in-game management. He knows, oh, this isn't quite working right. I need to fix this. Like not too long ago, he was complaining about, I need more signings. I need more this. I need more that. Because, you know, these kids weren't getting it. They weren't understanding the actual play. And it comes down to, as I said before, characteristics. And if you haven't got players in their right positions or players that are used to playing with each other, then I think that can be a hindrance to Brighton. Moving back to Spurs now, I think Højbjerg in the 6, I think quite a few people have had that problem, you know, saying that, you know, Højbjerg in that 6 doesn't quite suit us because when we're playing out the back, he kind of plays as a centre back as opposed to as a 6. He kind of joins the back 3. And when he gets the ball, I'm not saying he rushes it, but I'm saying he rushes it because he gets the ball. And sometimes his first thought is, can I go long? Can I go long? And when you go long, sometimes we lose the ball instantly. And it's like he's trying to look for Werner because he knows that Werner's out wide. He knows Johnson's in space. And that's when we lose that ball in midfield. And then it comes back on us. And then sometimes, you know, when a player just doesn't want it, I think Vicario sees that. And that's why sometimes he's not trusting to pass that ball into a Højbjerg at times. It's kind of missing him, going to one of our centre-backs. And then instead of it going into Højbjerg, it's going to maybe a fullback. And then the team's figured out, all right, it's not going to Højbjerg. We're going to press these players. And that's when we kind of fumble. Because against Everton, I'm thinking, bro, how come we're not like holding on to the ball? Every time we're just playing it too quickly. We're not holding on to the ball, doing 3 or 4 passes. That never changed until Sarr came on. When Sarr came on, I think it steadied down a bit. Sometimes Sarr would take it simple, get a first touch pass, drop a shoulder, take his man on, dribble with the ball, carry it. And then other times, he just keeps it simple. But Højbjerg hasn't really got that ability to kind of drop a shoulder, beat a man. And in that kind of build-up play, I don't think he's that guy as that number 6. Defensively, though, I think defensively, he is good at winning the ball back for us. And I think that's the reason why he may be brought in because positionally, he's not too bad. Like being on the pitch, positionally, he knows where to be at times. And I think that's what Ange is looking at, maybe experience over talent, you know, which is a shame because, you know, when you're at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, you kind of want to be entertainment. It's a conundrum for him. I wonder what he's going to go with because I'm not sure what midfield he's actually going to pick. And that's why I put it out there as a question. I wasn't sure if Kulu would come back into that midfield or if Johnson would get dropped and we play Kulu there. Now Son's come back from Asia Cup. Will he feature? Will he make an appearance like off the bench? Obviously, he won't start. I don't think he will start. And I'm sure, like I said at the start of the video, that he's like saying to Ange, I'm ready, I can play, and he's going to want to right the wrongs. But Ange is going to be like, look, chill out, bro. Chill out, son, Daniel Son. Just chill out. You'll have your chance, and I'm going to bring you on, and you will impact the game at some form, some way. So, yeah, that's my overall thoughts on it as well. You guys want to add anything to that?
I think PH for me only plays last 10-15 minutes. And the reason why I say that is because I think as of late, with his injuries and stuff like that, I think mentally he's stuck as well. I think he's realizing that he's not as mobile as he used to be. And that was never his game. He wasn't the most mobile of players anyway, but he could do a bit. Does that make sense? And I think the reason why he has to play the last 10-15 is because if we're trying to secure a win, which is something that we've been struggling to do as of late in terms of, when I say securing it, I mean like seeing the game out. I think he's good at that because he'll come on and he'll play it right, he'll play it left, he'll play it the way he sees, and he's very good at keeping the ball. That is something I must say about Højbjerg. He does keep the ball well. Where we lose it with him is, like I said, when he's trying to turn or if he's trying to make bursts of runs, he'll lose it because he hasn't got the agility anymore. He's losing it through injury. And I think mentally he knows that he's a bit stuck. But I think if we're trying to protect a win, say, for example, Brighton, we're winning, let's say, 2-1, bring him on last 10, see the game out, he'll keep the ball. Don't start him. That's what I think.
I just wanted to share something real quick. I'm gonna bring it up on the screen. I don't know if you guys can see it. I don't know if I can make it larger, but basically, it's our passing map. It's so small. I don't know how to make it larger, but basically, it shows the relationship between Johnson and Porro. They're so close together. It's crazy. Like it's on the far right hand side, and at the bottom where my cursor is, it says Johnson, and then above it is Porro. Now you can see Werner on the opposite side, how high and wide he is, and I would have thought Johnson would have want to be just as high and just as wide to create space for our midfield at times, and I feel like that could be the reason why Johnson hasn't been playing too well because he's playing a little bit close to Porro for what I don't know the reason being. I just noticed that in that game, especially in against Everton, and then I thought I looked back at previous games and I said, yeah, you know what, Johnson's not playing as high and wide as he should be compared to Werner. I remember when Werner first came on, everyone was complaining, saying, "Oh, Werner's in every time. Why are we not using Werner?" And I looked at Johnson's positioning and I was like, I understand you need to come short and deep for it sometimes, but if you're trying to find space, fake your run. So sometimes look to go short and then go out and then go like high and wide to receive the ball. And then that way you've lost your marker. Because I think that's the only reason why he would do that, if that makes sense. So I'm just looking at that position. And I agree with you guys before. I think Madison said it earlier. He said, in terms of relationships, he's never really played with Bentancur before. This is all brand new to him. So I think over time, he's going to get used to playing with Bentancur. He's going to be used to playing with the likes of Højbjerg. He hasn't played with them that much this season. So that's why I want to give Bentancur the benefit of the doubt. He's going to come good. It's going to get better. And yeah, in my opinion, the more games they play together, the better. And I do agree with you. Like it looked like they were in each other's way at times, but it could be an injury or it could be just a thing where they're trying to understand each other's rhythm, and then it may fall into place. It may click.
Yeah. I think it will click at some point. It's just when will it click? I'm hoping it clicks by April. I'm always going to bring up April, but I hope it clicks by then because that's when we've got a run of games that we need a cohesion by then. Otherwise, it could be curtains for us in that month.
It's a hard question, but how many points do you think we could pick up? And you in the comments as well. How many points do you reckon we could pick up in our next 3 home games?
Should or what? Look,
no. What do you personally think will happen?
Personally, we should be picking up 9 points minimum.
Yeah,
minimum. Like it's not even a case of we've got everybody back. Like, there's no we can't be making excuses like we have been. We have got literally everybody back, right? And they've brought in players like Werner, who people say is a good signing, right? So we should be getting right. Johnson has been, Johnson. Will he play? Won't he play? I don't know. Richarlison's on form. Son is back now. Unfortunately, he is back, right? I'd rather he won the Asian Cup, but he didn't. He's back. Basuma, depending on him. If he's fit, he'll be back. What excuses have we got now? We can't be making excuses. And we were winning these games in these first 10 games. We were winning when we had our full squad. So we should be getting 9 minimum. If we don't get 9, then our expectation not our expectation. It's more a bit of maybe this will put a reflection on where we actually are as a team.
Definitely. I foresee us getting 6 points. No, 7 points. I think we'll draw with Wolves.
I think
Wolves is where things get a bit technical. I think we'll beat Brighton. I think we'll beat Palace. I think Wolves is where it's
me personally. I'm not even a confident person when it comes to predicting Spurs, but I think because these are 3 home games where we are literally playing and just football. They all know how to play it. Yeah, Benton, like we said, there's been a bit of teething problems and whatnot. But when you actually think of it, the bigger picture, yes, we should be beating Brighton, right? Like we can sit there and say Royale and Ben Davies just got done that day, and it was defensive purposes why we got done, and they haven't been great away from home. You look at the next game, Wolves. I know they've been good. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it took them to the 90th minute to break us down with Eric Dyer at the back and Ben Davis. Right? So we have to look at the bigger picture here. So, and yeah, we weren't great that day, but how the hell did it take them so long? Like, even we were sitting there going, oh my God, we're going to get away with this. Right?
That's true.
And we can't take what they did against Chelsea, because I know that a lot. I get they were good, but every team gets that one great game a season where they go to somewhere like one of the big. Well, Chelsea not that big, as in they're not playing well, but they will go to play teams like that and play and get the result. And that's what Wolves did. I don't think they're going to keep it up against us, if I'm being completely honest.
We hope.
But it's always going to be the Palace game. Will they have Hodgson or will they not have Hodgson? That's your banana skin, because if they have Hodgson, I think we'll do it. Well, they're going to defend for their lives. They're literally going to park the bus if they've got Hodgson. Yeah, is it Elise? Elise is injured.
Yeah, Elise is injured now. Yeah,
right. So kind of not a blessing in disguise for us, because we're coming up against them. But again, that game could be a worry, because if we're not the best at creating, we have to create the chances. If we don't have our shooting boots down that day, it could be like a 0-0 against Palace, and that could be the banana skin out of 3. But we should be beating all 3.
Yeah, it's true. I agree.
We can't. We shouldn't be. I know we drew with Everton, but that was away from home. But look how we played at Everton at home. Look at our home games; they've been slightly better. Brentford was poor, but we got the victory.
You're right. And with that being said, I think the key to what you said is it being home games.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm gonna go on a quick rant, but a passionate rant. I think if we focus on us, because a lot of the times we focus on the opposition and what they're doing, but if we focus on playing the football we know we can, I think we can, on our day, we can defeat any team. Like, we've seen it at the start of the season how strong this team was. We've nearly got our full team back, if I'm being totally honest. And I think the more they play with each other, the more they get back into that rhythm, as I said earlier. But not only that, the bench is starting to build now. The bench is starting to look a lot more healthy, where I'm saying, people like, yeah, maybe Werner starts. I don't know. Nah, Werner starts on the bench because Son's back. I'm talking about further games further into the window now, into the season. I'm saying, like, we're going to start slowly getting back to that kind of rhythm and consistency and the kind of relationships that those players were having. Sorry, AB, go on. You're going to say something?
No, go on. No, because you're mid-rant, so I'll wait.
No. So I'm just looking back at this Brighton game, and I brought the tactics board out again. And I think for me, like I was saying in that little video, I don't think that picture, I don't think I explained it right. So here, let's call this Johnson. Johnson is starting here, but we know this is Porro. Porro's here. So if these two are here and my man's tucking in, like, I need Johnson you can start here, but then I need you to start moving where you're not predictable. You need to start hitting that, because that's what they want to do. Brighton want to invert that fullback, and there's going to be a lot of space to hit. So I want Johnson to be all Kulu, even if it's Kulu. So forget Johnson. Whatever winger we have out here, he needs to be hugging that touchline, and he needs to be pulling either this player out of position so they can't get that midfield control, or he tucks inside. So that's one thing I wanted to see. I wanted to see him tuck inside and then Porro pull wide, because Porro's really good at crossing that ball from that angle. So that's something I want to see. I've seen I've seen Richarlison drop in, and he does that really well. And sometimes he pulls to the left. Yeah. But for a lot of the season, we're seeing Doggy pick up in this position, and he darts down the field. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad if he pulls in here and Maddison plays that false 9, because Maddison, let's face it, he's got a shot on him. I want to see Maddison in that attacking midfielder role more time than often. I don't want to see him back here. Leave that to your number 6. Do you know what I'm saying? Whoever the 6 is, 6 can just drop in that position here, if that's Højbjerg. And then if Porro needs to drop in over here and make a double pivot, then he comes there, and then we bring one of our midfielders just to cover. Let's say that's Sarr, and Sarr just pops into that area and then Richie's battling in that midfield. Like between these two players, he's working his socks off. But then he feeds into Maddison. Maddison's that finisher, and he gets that ball, and he's able to finish those chances off. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just want to see a bit more, because at the moment, what I am seeing, and I'm sorry I'm going on a tangent, but I'm seeing the doggy here, and sometimes the doggy's in this position, but he's not letting it off. He's not shooting. What your doggy does, because he's the defender, his natural instinct is to pass. So he wants to get to the byline and make those little cutbacks. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, I just want to see my players come in and then make those darting runs in different directions. I want to see Richarlison attack those near posts. I want to see Werner be more aggressive and cut across his fullback and get into those positions. And then these midfielders, again, we can interchange. They can interchange in those positions. They don't have to stay rigid. They can move from out to in, out to in, into out, and vice versa. But yeah, that's my little rant over, man. That's me.
The only problem for me will be Udogie. And the reason why I'm saying he's a problem, so I've noticed at home is where he's making his mistakes, and where his positional sense and everything like that. But I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know what it is. Away from home, he seems to, like you said, he wants to cut back and he's in those positions. But I don't think you can take him out of it either. And that's it's an issue on both sides, because if you start, because I know he made the adjustment with Porro. You can see Porro's had to make he's made an adjustment with Porro because Porro was getting caught too many times, and people start to see that's the weak side. The problem now is, yeah, your doggy's not the weak side, but your doggy's making mistakes. And that's he's making mistake after mistake, and I don't know if it's overconfidence or what it is at the moment with your doggy, right? But it will suddenly start becoming an issue, because if you look at the goals we concede at Spurs, right, either it's from two ways: our mistake or a set piece.
Yeah,
nothing else. How many times have we sat here, all of us, and gone, oh, he should have cleared that. He should have done this. He should have done that. Set piece, another set piece. We never go, oh my God, that was a great goal. I can't remember the last time we had to say that, right? You start looking at all the goals we've started to concede, right? It's always been the same. I think Man City one of them goals might have been, but then we go, but if we had our proper centre backs. So it's mistakes because we've got two fullbacks there and stuff like that. And this is the issue that we've had all season with conceding goals. They've been literally hand gift, all of them. They haven't had to work hard.
I don't think Ange is going to change. I know Sean said earlier about having that higher line. It's too high. I don't think he's going to drop that off, especially at home. I think he's going to be.
Do you not think though, right? And this is the one thing that you hope Ange will see. The Premier League is not like, look, at the end of the day, the Premier League is not like the Scottish League. It's not like Japan. It's not like that. It's a very punishing league. Yeah, very, very punishing. And yes, it's all good, but you do sometimes have to make tweaks in certain games, right? So against Brighton, I totally accept that he doesn't need to make the change against Brighton. He probably can push as far forward as possible, because you don't want Brighton coming onto us. So you kind of will do it for that. Wolves, slightly different. He might have to say, step 5 yards back. Don't play his high line, but he's got to learn which teams to do this for, because at the end of the day, you'll get games like Villa, you'll get games like West Ham, where they'll just sit there and wait and catch us, right? And De Zerbi watched that, and you blatantly then put the tactics to go, just do this, and it wasn't that hard.
I personally think against Wolves, instead of a high press, we could do a mid press.
Yeah,
right. So what I mean by that is that we're still high up the pitch, but the triggers are different. So normally we'll go and press the goalkeeper, we'll press the fullback, etc. But instead of that, what we do is we allow the goalkeeper to have the ball, we allow the centre backs to have the ball, but as soon as it gets into the midfield, that's when we start making a charge for their players. We try to win the ball back, blah 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 blah. So then that way we're not risking it all, and we're using those triggers to press and win the ball back, so we're not as exposed. Whereas if you shift the whole team forward and it's a high press, as you were saying, Marlon, if you've got your centre backs all the way up, I know Mickey Van der Ven's good at cleaning up, working it, getting back with the recovery runs, but we kind of limit those. We kind of stop those from happening.
We don't want. We seriously don't want Van der Ven doing that. We don't want Van der Ven cleaning up all the time because again, these hamstrings will go again. Yeah. And that's, I know it's the football we play, but we kind of have to be careful in that sense. But let's take someone like Pep, right? Who in his first season, yes, he didn't have his defenders, don't get me wrong, but he tried to do exactly the same thing. And he went, I can't do this in the Premier League, right? And it was that Everton away game where he got smashed 4-0, where they literally just stood there and allowed Man City to come onto them and they broke them every time. Yes, he went out and bought the Cole Walkers of this world and everything like that. But if you notice, he hasn't played as high as he did in his first season, and he adjusted it. And it just meant that Man City can now do what they do, right? They don't have to buy all these players again. They don't have to go out and spend millions of pounds on a whole new back four because he realised the sort of player he needs for the Premier League. And I think Ange kind of will eventually do the same. With Klopp, we had to tell him what he needed, and he eventually just broke down and got the Van Dijks of this world and got the Konates, and but with Ange, he's going to be. Look, I get why he's going to be that stubborn. He's like, I've done this all my life, and I've got here doing it that way, right? And I completely understand that. But at the same time, you do learn. You never stop learning as a manager. And if he wants to play that way, he needs. I don't even think if we got all the players he wanted, that it would still be sustainable in every game.
No.
I was going to ask that question as well, because I was going to say, do you think this we score more than you is a sustainable thing? Because I think that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's Ardelia's, isn't it? I said this. Remember, I said this when we first got him. It's Ardelia's football, and anyone old enough to remember Aussie football was probably way before its time. But we had Dumitrescu, Klinsmann, Sheringham, Dick Barmby, and I can't remember who the fifth player was. And it was literally, we're going to outscore. But we kept losing games like 4-3, 3-2 because we had never cots at the back and
entertainers.
Like that.
We were the entertainers.
We were the entertainers, but we were languishing. But obviously, because football's changed and evolved, that style of football's now coming to play. Like when you look at it at the time, Adidas was before his time. But if we don't, but what
Ronnie Rosenthal, Anderton, Nick Barnsley, Klinsmann, Sheringham.
Anderton was the last one.
Anderton,
but
but
you can play that football. But the Premier League then was unforgiving. So it's always that case of, yes, Ange's good enough for the Premier League, but he's also got to kind of also adjust to the Premier League as well. It's both.
Do you think that's the reason why we're in the market for another centre back? Because apparently that's what we want: a centre back, a midfielder, and I think they said the winger. I think that was the three. That's what that came out. That was shopping list.
Yeah, that is why, because I remember Ange saying it in an interview. He said that he's specifically looking for another sort of Van der Ven. I think he said someone that can play that sweeper role. So I think to give him a rest, because he's aware that with the style of football that he plays, the wear and tear, Van der Ven won't make it to the end of the season. So he's very much in the know of what he's doing is high risk, high reward. So that's why he's looking for another centre back of that ilk and that plays that specific role.
A Todibo maybe, like that's what we were looking before. Yeah. And he's got a lot of pace. So it'll be interesting to see if we go back in the market, especially that Manchester United have got their guy who's the owner of the club that we want to buy Todibo from. But FFP, who knows with all these things coming up, like PSR as well, we still might be in a shout of it. I don't know. We still might be able to get some of these players over the line. So
with that, you say get over the line, but the problem we've got to be able to attract them at the same time. So we can all sit there and go, oh, we've got the money and this, that, and the other. But we're not going to throw, let's be honest, Spurs are not going to throw money at these players, right? We're not going to completely go. So we might be able to go out and buy them. But if we don't start winning trophies soon, players are going to see us most players are going to see us as a stepping stone. They're going to do exactly what Cole Walker did, right? They're going to do exactly what every other player did and come to us to build up their career, right? And then take the next step with someone else. Yeah. And that's the problem we're going to have soon because, we can afford with FFP and all that, But Manchester City, okay, it depends on what happens to them. But if nothing happens to them, they're okay. You know, Liverpool are okay. So, and they're clubs that are going to be winning stuff. So you're kind of looking at it going, okay, how's it going to be? So Spurs got to make a decision soon. Spurs have got to make a massive decision on what type of club we want to be. Right? Is it just finishing the top 4 and that's it? Or do we want to be able to sprinkle some trophies in there? And if we don't sprinkle some trophies in there, we're going to start being that club that, look, because at the end of the day, we have a reputation, right? And players know this reputation. And you think, you won't see players going, oh, I'm going to come here to win things. Even Maddison, deep down, knew he weren't coming here to win things. It was the next step of their career. And that's like, and for us, seeing how we were in both cups was concerning.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I said this before. I don't know if I said it here, but it was weird because Werner came and he was like, I've come here to win trophies. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, is he just saying that for PR marketing?
It sounded great.
Or is he saying that to players? Because I remember when Maddison first came, he was like, trust me, by the time I finish with this team, you're not going to be able to recognize it. And I know Ange has got that kind of, to me, he looks like the pedigree, like he likes to win it. He came back off Scotland doing a treble, where he was before in Japan, he won trophies. With the academy team, he transformed them. So in his heart of hearts, he might believe that, look,
of course he believes
what he's saying.
And every manager believes when they come here.
The point, yeah, I hear that. But the point I was going to say was like, and the whole reason why he came in was to change the culture of the club. And I'm just wondering if the fans are buying into that culture where we want to win trophies as well, because some of the fans, and it seems like there's a slight split, right?
Very split.
And AB's shaking his head like the other way. But I'm just saying some fans are saying they're happy with just entertaining football. And some fans, they want the glory. They want the glory days back. And because that's why you go to stadium. That's why you go to the stadium, to have those experiences, to have those days when you lift cups. You know, those are the memories you want to have for your children, your children's children. Because let's face it, if your youth goes to school now and they're wearing a Tottenham shirt and we become that team where they're not winning something, that's banter. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's be real. Big man, let's go to school and like Spurs are not winning things, but the other clubs are winning, then your kid might get bullied at school. How about that? That's how I look at it anyway. I don't know if that's a mad take, but people are like, you support Spurs. There ain't nothing. They're up. Like, we don't want to be that club where we're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know what I'm saying? Never the bride. Yeah. So like, I don't know. Am I wrong? I don't know. You don't tell me in the comments. What type of club? One has got a point. What type of club are we gonna be? And I think the fans do have a say. If we're like demanding, you know, as fans that we want to go out there and just have a day out, go to, you know, have nice toilets, nice facilities, nice food, you know what I'm saying? Wine and dine. Yeah, we're the richest club. We got PSR. Yeah, we got FFP. But at the end of the day, if they're not doing nothing with the FFP and PSR and the rest of it, what does it really mean?
Well, do you know what? Like, I had this conversation with Stell, right? And I don't know if people have seen that he brought up last 25 years under Enoch, 25 years before, 25 years and 25 years, right? And I basically said to him, the problem that we've got at the moment is, right, a lot of us now older Spurs fans, and I'm talking about our bracket, right? We grew up between when this was it, 1976 to 2000s, right? That's most of us Spurs fans, right? Mm. Now, we had dropped significantly as a club in that period, right? So, yeah, we had 5 trophies, but our average league position was 9th, right? So you can imagine sporadic up and down we were in those times, right? So if you look at what Levy's done, right, he's then made us more, we ain't sporadically up and down. We're more established in that bracket, right? And because that's what we were going through.
Top 16.
And that's because that's what we were going through. A lot of us have now accepted this. That's where we want to be. And obviously what's happened since then, right, is that Europe's become bigger,
Yeah.
Right. Because if you looked at ENIC as a whole, right, you'd say, right, and you looked at the old regime before Europe became top 4 and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
If you looked at where we finished and how many cups we've won, we'd have only had European football twice. When we won the League Cup and when we finished second. All the other times, all them thirds and whatever, and the top 5s, and weren't European places back when we were growing up. They wasn't.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what kind of made it up, man. I'll be real.
Yeah.
They kind of made that whole top 6 thing and top
once
4.
they started,
That wasn't a thing, man. When I was growing up, that wasn't a thing. It was just like you win FA Cup. I remember FA Cup was a big cup. Coca-Cola Cup when I was growing up. That was respectable, you know. Coca-Cola was all right. And then you Super Cup, like you UEFA Cup, Super Cup. They were or Cup Winners' Cup. That was it. Cup Winners' Cup. That's what my man used to have.
Yeah. So what I'm saying was, a lot of us have been scarred by that period, right? Because if you look at it, and that's the reason why you find that it's very, very split now. Because we haven't won the trophies, but actually, as a league team, we're more established. We're more settled, right? Yeah. We're not, and that's right. And if the average league position is 9th, and now it's 6th. Right? Yeah, it may seem very, very small in that minute, but actually, we're looking at it going, well, we didn't have this when we were growing up as kids, so we're going to accept it. But if you look at the period before that, right, which is the 1951 to 75, the average league position was 7th. There was a big trophy haul between that time as well. There was more top 4 finishes. So that group of people that grew up and saw that are probably not. Most of them are probably on that too old to care, right? Or they're probably older age group who got to see that. So that's why they don't really pay attention, because they will be like, you know what? There's no point. I've seen Spurs successful. I'm in a new stadium. I never thought I'd see Tottenham Hotspur in this massive stadium and stuff like that, right? And I've seen the success. So that's why it's different perspective. So it'd be interesting, the kids growing up now, how they're going to be like. Yeah. Because let's take Harry, who's on this channel. 15 or turning 16. He's never, think of this, he's going to go his whole school career to never, ever, ever go in one day and go, oh, look, Spurs have won a trophy. Like, he doesn't know that, but he likes the Ajax semi-finals and stuff like that. But if I said to the chat now, right, I'll ask you a question, right? Because I was thinking about this, right? And I was talking to someone the other day. Anyone who remembers the 1991 FA Cup final, yeah?
Even born.
Yeah. Anyone who remembers the 91 FA Cup final, which was the better moment, right? Beating Cloughie, right, to a trophy that he was the only trophy we stopped him winning, or Ajax semi-final. And I remember the semi-final in the FA Cup in 91, and I remember the final, right? And for me, you can't take them moments away. I was a kid. You can't take them moments away from me. Ajax was nice, but it was only nice because 45 minutes of football.
We've won the trophy after that, though.
Yeah, we did. But we have.
Because there's only one trophy in my lifetime that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Worthington.
The Worthington Cup. That's it. Yeah.
Worthington.
Yeah.
We've won the League Cup twice since, but the reason why I used 91 FA Cup final, right? Because that was one when I was young, and I remember that. And the only two comparable, I can only use Ajax as an example because everyone always goes, "Oh, give me Ajax again." But the Champions League final kind of ruined that.
Yeah, it did, man. The whole Kane Mora situation, that fiasco was nuts.
But if you look at the semi-final and the final, we literally had 45 minutes worth of decent football, and that's what we're hanging on.
But you know what? At the end of the day, I do hear it because it's like for me, you always want to lift the trophy. You can't go get. But for other people, it's moments. It's that moment. Like moments. Football is about emotion, and that moment gave you a certain emotion. Me, I was ready to turn the TV off. I was pissed, but we were losing. I said, "No, this is dead." Remember, we went 1-0 down quick. I said, "No, this is dead. We're out. Tottenham are shit." Blah blah blah. I was in my feelings, bro. And then the way we turned it around, like I just never saw that coming. So it's different to like winning like 1-0. Like, you know, when you win 1-0 at the depth, those type of cup wins, it's a different type of feeling. Like, you see what I'm trying to say? But yeah, man, you can't be lifting the trophy. And also, like I said before, AB, I don't know, I'll get you on this as well. Like for me, if I'm a kid at school, like I don't want to be bantered, innit? I don't want to come in the next day and I'm like, Tottenham are still fifth, or maybe Tottenham are still fifth, but you know what I'm trying to say, like, because I've been training like a mum, and like her son sports Spurs, and she was like, her son was like, oh, are we still fifth? Because obviously we were top for long. And he was like, are we still fifth? Are we still fifth? I'm like, is this what they're going through at school? Like the rage they must be feeling, like it's mad, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, a lot of that was my childhood, if I'm honest with you. Always finishing sort of 9th, 10th, getting that sort of banter at school. Arsenal fans always having more than one up on you. So that is more my reality. I can relate to the kids of today, and that's why Ash, in this Spurs group that we're in, away from this, you can kind of hear sort of I'm a bit pessimistic at times. Even when things are going well, I'm always like, well, this is what it's always been. Top 4 is the greatest achievement we've had in a long time, and the Champions League final. So, to answer your question in its entirety, I'm more leaning towards the hope of change. So I'm not. I don't care about attractive football. I'd rather play dead football and win something. That's where I'm at. Does that make sense? I wouldn't want to just play attractive football and not win anything. So I do believe that with Ange, we're gonna win something. I do feel it, because I think he's changing the culture. I think to ask him to win something in his first season is a bit unrealistic. I think next season will be.
I totally agree with that. I second that. I think, and people lose sight of that. I think this is I can't expect Ange to come in straight away.
Yeah.
And look, you can see the players, like I said, Bentancur, Maddison, as Marlon said before, teething problems. They haven't played with each other before. So, of course, that midfield unit, that's the most essential role, other than the centre-backs, obviously. That's one of the spines of the team. You need to kind of have at least a season of working with different players, knowing your teammates, knowing where they're going to be in that position, get used to these inverting fullbacks. Like, Maddison's like, I'm not used to having a fullback in my position. Like, you see what I'm trying to say? Normally that lane's there for me. So I think just about learning that kind of, as I said, positional play, as opposed to the traditional role where your DM is your DM and your centre mid, your attacking mid is your attacking mid, etc., etc. Like, these guys, in this first season, for me, I'm not expecting trophies and a top 3 or top 4 finish. I still say 5th. I'm still there, innit? I'm still there. And yeah, go on, Marlon, go on.
What makes you think,
Yeah.
But personally, right? I know Ange is changing the culture. Look, Ange has changed part of the culture already, right? But there's still a culture at the club, right? But what makes you think next season is going to change? And the reason why I'm saying this, right? And the reason why I'm going to say, right? Because Ange might have it, right? But for me, your board needs to have it too, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because next year he's going to come up against slightly something different. European football, yeah, with Spurs next year. He's used to European football, but we're going to be European football with this squad, yeah. He's going to need a squad next year, right? You think now, yeah, we're okay with the 11, right? We're okay with what he's got, but there's so many things we still need to get rid of players, but we're going to need a squad next season, right, for European football as well, right? Do you think realistically this club's going to give him a squad?
I would like to hope. Yeah.
Sorry, but just before you go, but this is why he's asking for that extra defender, for those extra midfielders, for those extra wingers, because Maddison ain't going to be able to play 2 games a week. You've seen it this year. The first time we played 2 games a week, we got smashed.
Yeah.
This is my worry. Like, we're all expecting Ange to change this culture, but if the culture's ingrained in the club, and we all know, let's be completely honest, we all know top 4 is going to be the main aim. It's not going to change. Top 4 is going to be the main aim next season.
Look,
Willie, the cups just has to do well in.
For me, it's a tall order, because at the end of the day,
order because it's easier this season for him.
It's of course. And I think, and that's why I said, I'm taking it. I'm not there yet. Like, we've just got over Conte and Mourinho ball. You see what I'm trying to say? So
Oh,
I'm not so far forward thinking where, like, let me have my breathing time. Like, I'm so.
I'm enjoying. Yeah, no, I'm enjoying. Look,
No.
I'm
I'm not saying this to have a go. I'm just saying, like, if I look so far forward, because look, let's face it, right now, as it is, but we're still getting problems right now as the team is. So I actually agree with what you're saying. But if I look too far forward, probably there's no point in me actually watching football. I might as well do something else. I might as well get a new hobby. You see what I'm trying to say? I'd rather look at.
But then is that not you then, right? And this is like me not even gonna go. But then aren't you just being a moments person, not thinking actually how can I build and get a squad? Because you can still enjoy the moment.
I'm like, all right, the way I see it, I'm a fan. I've only got so much power. And I was saying to Meet before, it all comes down to like how fans perceive the club. Do we demand more things from the club, etc.? Do we push forward? But at the same time, I've got a part of me that says, look, because I'm not full one way, like moments, like living here and now. I've got two sides. I've got one side that says, yeah, I do expect us to kind of want to push. Because remember, I said about the kids, like, mummy, we're fifth. Why are we going to be first? Like, even that kid that said, can you bring Kane back? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not delusional of what's going on and what needs to happen. And I'm a fan. Look, this is the transfer show. The amount of players I go through, like when I brought up Raphinha and I brought out all those players. Remember when I first bought Raphinha and you laughed, what? Raphinha, yeah, right? And I did the whole video. And then even Flat Cap Jack laughed at me like, Raphinha, no, you're not getting Raphinha. You know what I'm saying? But my expectation is like, bro, like, why can't I dream? Why can't I want trophies for my club? Why can't I want big boy players for my club? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Whether it happens, I don't know. But then a part of me is like, you know what? I slow down. You know, it might not happen. And like, we've got teething problems at the moment. Let me slow it down a little piece. Let me accelerate it there. Because then I will never be happy. You see what I'm trying to say? I will never, like, I don't want to go too far forward too soon and be this kind of like fan. Yeah, go on, AB, go on.
But this is what I was thinking. So when we think about moving forward and excelling, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to win a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. No one's saying that we're going to go on to win the league and, you know, or maybe win the Champions League. But I think Ange has enough pull and enough management skill to win us something. That's all I'm saying. A cup. And then we move on from there. We kick on from there. Because the issue that we've got as Spurs fans is that we haven't won a cup in so long that we just need to win a cup. This is it. I'm telling you. Top four. And we get knocked out of the champs early, whatever, cool. We get knocked out of the FA. But top four and the Carabao will take that. Come on.
Would you prefer Europa? Would you prefer a Europa Cup win,
Yeah.
like if a title, or would you prefer a good run in the Champions League?
Europa Cup win.
So like, yeah, so basically not the top four then. You'd prefer to come sixth this season, fifth.
Sixth in Europa, I'll take it. We've got to win something, Ashman. And this is all I'm saying. Next season.
This is what I'm saying as well.
Look,
that's it.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you.
I tell you what, right? This is the biggest problem, right? And this is where us Spurs fans need to look at what we want to be, right? And you're right. We need to look at what we're going to be, right? If I said to you, right, if we want to be involved in this top six conversation, yeah, right, because that's what we've been thrown into, right? If you look at everyone else in the top six, all of them expect one thing from their club, right? To be winning and competing for trophies, right? Right? We laugh at Arsenal, right? Yeah, they might balls it up and whatever, but they're always every single season, we're going to win the league, we're going to win this, we're going to win that. Manchester City, of course, Liverpool the same, Chelsea. The reason why they're so in a mess right now, right, and because they still have that feeling of we should be competing for trophies. But us Spurs fans are like, okay, no, as long as we're playing pretty football and we're somewhere around there, it's all good. And that's the bit that we want to break that cycle or do we not? Because we don't demand that much from our club. If we're being completely honest, we don't demand that much for our club. But it seems like everybody's on this because we've had Mourinho and Conte football for the last 5 years. Do you know what? As long as we've got pretty football, that's fine. So we just need to make that decision. Where do we want to be? Do we want to be bigger than the Villas and the Brightons, sit on top of that tree where they're not expected to win anything? Or do we want to be competing with the top 5?
I think Aston Villa win something this season. I think they might win a cup.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not saying yes or no, but that's the decision we have to make as Spurs fans, and we have to start. Do we want to demand the FA Cups and the League Cups? Because, like I said before, the 1991, that's what Spurs fans were used to. They were used to FA Cups and League Cups, so it'd be interesting. And I just quickly wanted to answer Adrian's question. He said, "We've never won a trophy playing negative football." Yeah, we did under George Graham. So that's where we want to be. And the thing is, and why we got onto that subject is because that's how you attract players. That is how, you literally can attract. If you wanted to attract like a Diaz and players like that before they go to a Man City, if you were Man City, were going head to head, or you and Liverpool, right, were going head to head, and that player's like, you know what, it's time for me to win trophies. Doesn't matter how much money we throw at him, it's going to be a case of, but it's going to be a case of, right, that a lot of them players will want to be like Mbappe. Let's take Mbappe. I'm just throwing him out there. He would never considering if we play Champions League football every year.
Never.
He would never consider Spurs, but would he consider Liverpool?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we haven't got a hope and chance.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Players are going to start seeing us for that, and they're going
to. I agree, man.
That's why we can get players like Romero and that when they're young, before they want to. If Romero was 27 and he wanted to win trophies, right, and he was at the top of his game, would he be coming to a Spurs? Is the question.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, but boy, that's all I got time for, man. I'd like to big up both my guests for coming on. AB Coys, thanks for coming on, my broski. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me, man.
Almost 2 hours. We've gone hard. It's meant to be a short one today, but yeah, we got it in. Big up Marlon every time, man. And also big up the comments for making the show what it is.
Definitely.
Those comments have kept us bubbling and kept us lively. And yeah,
AB, before he goes, AB, thank you for coming on today on the first show of Spurs Kings TV as well.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you.
And everyone, for you guys that wanted to why we decided to change names, it was to make it easier for people to find us, right? Because Southview is, bit difficult. And I don't want to spoil it now, but there are some big things coming in the next few months to the reason why we had to change the name now. Right? So thank you for all staying with us. Thank you for supporting us. Right? And if we can get those 3 subscribers that unsubscribed today back, that would be appreciative as well.
Is there like a YouTube or anything, or like how do I subscribe?
Yeah, so if you on YouTube, if you type in Spurs Kings TV, you'll find us at Spurs Kings TV, one word, you will find us. But yeah, there are big things coming up in the pipeline for us, especially with Ash, the man below me. He's got some big things coming up. We've obviously got the rival show tomorrow, right? So sorry, Ash, I know you probably would have been doing this all yourself, but
no, it's cool. Go ahead.
We've had so much change, but I just wanted to thank everybody that's been with us for the journey. Right, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like people like Adrian, who's been in the chat, Elliot, New York. I'm going to say it's New York. He's also been in the chat. Paul Brown. A lot of you have been on. Mr. M. Just trying to. Michael's been on the show. Mia, who's always supported us. TT Tone, who's been in the chat. Thank you all. But yeah, as always, as Ash says, if you're on a TV or anything right now, quickly go onto your phone and subscribe.
I'm doing it. As soon as I get off, I'm doing it. Yeah.
Right, thank you, and also make sure you stay tuned in, because actually with this name change we're going to be doing bigger and better things. This is why we did it. We want to be doing bigger and better things. Once we hit that 2K as well, we're going to start doing better shows and more things next season. So thank you all, and actually Ash, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, man, as always, guys, Come on, you Spurs, man.
Come on, you Spurs.